Hello, friends, and welcome to my online biology class for class 10. Today we shall study Lesson 9 Heredity and Evolution. In this video, we shall try to understand some important terms and definitions which we shall be requiring for understanding the rules for inheritance of traits framed by the father of genetics, Gregor John Mendel. I am Kirti Srivastava, PGT Biology, KV number 3, Jhansi. The first term we shall discuss is chromosome, which are thread-like structures present inside a nucleus and are formed of DNA. They carry genes. Usually, they are present in the form of a network called chromatin, which condenses at the time of cell division to form thread-like structures called chromosomes. The first diagram here depicts the structure of a chromosome, which consists of a DNA helix. The second figure shows that these chromosomes, which are made up of DNA, are actually present inside the nucleus of the cell. The next term is character. The features or characteristics of an individual, like height, color, shape, etc., are called character. When this character or feature is inherited and has its detectable variant too, it is called as a trait. For example, tall and dwarf are traits of a character called height. A yet very important term which we shall be coming across in this lesson is gene. Gene is a segment of DNA which codes or provides information for the formation of a particular protein or a polypeptide. It is in fact a unit of heredity and helps in the determination of a particular character or a phenotype. One very important fact about gene is that they work in pairs. That is, a particular character or a trait is controlled by a pair of genes. They are represented by the letters of English alphabets. Genes controlling the same character or trait are represented by the same letters. For example, gene for the trait height is represented by the letter capital T, which represents tallness, and small t, which represents dwarfness. Hence, the letters capital T and small t represent two forms of the same gene, and such genes are called alleles. Thus, allele can be defined as a different form of a particular gene occupying the same position on a chromosome. Now, the allele which decides the appearance or phenotype of an organism, even in the presence of another allele of that gene, is called as a dominant allele. It is always represented by a capital letter. For example, capital T represents tallness and depicts a dominant allele. An allele which gets masked or hidden in the presence of a dominant allele and can decide the appearance of an organism only in the presence of another identical gene is called a recessive allele. For example, small t represents a dwarf plant, which is a recessive allele. Now we come to another two important terms, and that is homozygous and heterozygous. Homozygous refers to a particular trait in an individual which is controlled by a pair of factors or genes which are coming from each parent at the time of fertilization of gametes to form a zygote. Now, if zygote or the individual formed has a pair of identical genes controlling a given character or a trait, the condition is called as homozygous. For example, capital T are two identical genes or alleles representing tallness, which is a dominant trait. In the same manner, small t are two identical genes or alleles representing dwarfness. In both the above examples, the zygote or the new individual formed is homozygous as both alleles coming from the two parents are identical. Whereas when an individual possesses a pair of contrasting genes or alleles for a particular trait, the condition is called as heterozygous. For example, capital T and small t are two different alleles of a gene which control height. Here both dominant and recessive allele exist together, but the one which is dominant gets expressed. Now, the genetic constitution of an individual for a particular trait is called as the genotype and is represented by the letters of English alphabet. For example, capital T represents the genetic constitution of a homozygous tall plant, whereas small t represents the genetic constitution of a homozygous dwarf plant, and capital T and small t together represent the genetic constitution of a hybrid tall plant. Whenever a trait or an inherited character is expressed or is visible in an organism, it is called as the phenotype. For example, phenotype for genetic constitution capital T is tall, whereas the phenotype for genetic constitution small t is dwarf. Yet another important definition is that of a hybrid. Hybrid refers to a new form of plant resulting from a cross of different varieties of an individual having two different alleles for the same trait. For example, capital T small t together is a hybrid of a homozygous tall and a homozygous dwarf plant. Another two important terms are monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. Monohybrid cross refers to when the inheritance of only one pair of contrasting characters is studied using a hybridization cross, whereas when inheritance of two pairs of contrasting characters is studied simultaneously with the help of hybridization cross, it is called as a dihybrid cross. Yet another important term is progeny. Progeny refers to an offspring or a daughter organism. The reproductive sex cells containing haploid set or only one set of chromosomes are called as gametes. And now we come to yet another important terms, and that is F1 generation and F2 generation. F1 generation is also called as the first filial generation, and when two parents cross or breed to produce a progeny, then the progeny is called the first filial generation or the F1 generation. Whereas when the two individuals or progeny of the first generations are crossed amongst themselves to produce a second generation progeny, then this progeny is called as the F2 generation or the second filial generation. So this is all in this video. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we shall be studying the inherited traits, a brief history on father of genetics Gregor John Mendel, his experimental material and techniques, the rules for inheritance of traits, and Mendel's monohybrid cross.